and share the screen. Off we go. And
people that do not use quality in their marketing
if you
are
can
the
hear
Japanese.
the video, please let me know.
You never see them using quality in their marketing. It's only the American companies that do. And yet, if you ask people on the street which products have the best reputation for quality, they will tell you the Japanese products. Now, why is that? How could that be? The answer is because customers don't form their opinions on quality from marketing. They don't form their opinions on quality from who won the Deming Award or who won the Baldrige Award. They form their opinions on quality from their own experience with the products or the services. And so one can spend enormous amounts of money on quality. One can win every quality award there is, and yet if your products don't live up to it, customers will not keep that opinion for long in their minds. And so I think where we have to start is with our products and our services, not with our marketing department. And we need to get back to the basics and go improve our products and services. Now again, quality isn't just the product or the service, it's having the right product. You know, knowing where the market's going and having the most innovative products is just as much a part of quality as the quality of the construction of the product when you have it. And I think what we're seeing is the quality leaders of today have integrated that quality technology well beyond their manufacturing, now going well into their sales and marketing and out as far as they can to touch the customer, and trying to create super efficient processes back from the customer all the way through to the delivery of the end product so that they can have the most innovative products, understand the customer needs fastest, et cetera, et cetera. In most companies, if you're new and you ask, you know, why is it done this way? The answer is because that's the way we do it here, or because that's the way it's always been done. And in my opinion, the largest contribution of much of this quality thinking is to approach these ways of doing things, these processes, scientifically, where there is a theory behind why we do them. There is a description of what we do, and most importantly, there is an opportunity to always question what we do. And this is a radically different approach to business processes than the traditional one, because it's always done this way. And that single shift is everything, in my opinion, because in that shift is a tremendous optimistic point of view about the people that work in a company. It says these people are very smart. They're not pawns. They're very smart. And if given the opportunity to change and improve, they will. They will improve the processes if there's a mechanism for it. And that optimistic humanism I find very appealing. And I think we have.
Okay, so thank you very much indeed, everyone. And I'm just going to try to stop that video. Thank you for being here. Hugely appreciated, of course. Adedoyin, can I ask you just to put your video quickly on for a quick hi to all the participants today? We've got 100 of colleagues joining us right now. So Adedoyin, if you can just put your video quickly for a quick hello before I introduce you formally. So can you all put your hands up for Adedoyin from Nigeria? Who's going to obviously give us some wisdom on quality. So can you put your hands up for Adedoyin? Thank you very much indeed. Adedoyin, what can we expect today on quality control? A few words, and of course, introduce yourself. 2 words quickly. I think Adedoyin has frozen to start with, so let's just make sure he's back on. Can you hear us, Davison?
Yep.
Okay.
And so I think just on the side of Adedoyin.
Okay, so we'll get Adedoyin back on shortly. I need to do introduction, of course. So that was a very quiet introduction from Adedoyin until she get back to us. So just give me 1 sec just to make sure. Yeah, he's probably gonna go back in. Adedoyin is back. So if you can unmute yourself, Adedoyin, you were frozen there. That was a very quiet introduction from you. But just quickly, 1 word, a few words what we're expecting today.
Okay, hello everyone. I just want to be able to put into your space a little bit about what quality is. You know, in project management and projects in general, we are able to, put our hands on what the scope is, the cost is, the time is, and quality seems to be so slippery, and a lot of consideration for it is not provided. So I want to put in our space today what quality is, how we can manage quality on our projects, how we can control it, how we can be assured of qualities, because quality is majorly about meeting requirements required by the stakeholders. So that's what I'll be sharing with us today in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. If I can ask you to switch off your video, I will do a quick introduction for a few minutes, and then we'll get you introduced. So everybody put your hands up for Adedoyin from Nigeria, which is fantastic, and we are humble to have her today. So I'm just going to do a quick presentation as always before we kickstart our webinar. So again, if you can see my screen, please, if you can put your hands up just to make sure we validate it before we start. So if there's any problem, let us know on the Q&A tab before we start. Okay, so just give me 1 second. I just need to send a few. Okay. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here today. Our next webinar talk, which is my 49th webinar talk, almost a year now, and the title today is The Power of Quality in Project Management by Adedoyin Obikanye, who is a certified project manager. So thank you to be here, Adedoyin Obikanye, with us today. So thank you very much indeed. Quick agenda, of course. Quick housekeeping, introduction as I'm doing right now. We'll have a quick survey, presentation, and the Q&A in between as well. Survey, Q&A conclude, and finally we'll move on. So thank you, almost 375 registered today. Humble and honored to have all of you today for my 49th webinar. There'll be a certificate attendance. Please email me just after the event, please, at anil@cbdtalk, and I'll try to clear all the certificate of attendance today. So please email me just after the event, not during the event or before, but please just send me your full name at anil@cbd.com. Also, a certificate will be issued. And as I said before, gargantuan thank you to Adedoyin for giving back her time. So thanks a million for that as well. So who I am quickly, I think we've gone through all that: love learning, love sharing, love people, passion about giving back, 18 years plus now, almost 19 in June. Honor, privilege, and humble to have you. I just want to show you a quick photo. 25 years ago, I was working for a company called Copa Emotion Detection Limited, which is a textile industry doing shirts like Next, Debenhams, Adams for the UK. And that was me lifting boxes 25 years ago. And I tell you what, quality was really, really important in a textile industry. It's all about process, procedures, and we were lifting all these big boxes, and I was 17 back then. So it was hard work, but we got there eventually. And now I now know this is a portal frame building, if you look at the back, and all my friends there as well. I don't know where they are, but it was hard work, and it was all about quality. And if you can see there at the back as well, it was a fully changed process with textile, garments, clothes, and it was really, really hard work, but it's all about quality. And I eventually moved on to become a quality control officer after a few years of lifting boxes. So there I am now, and thank you for that. So just for I shared that 25 years ago already. I'm also humble and honored to share with you, RICS has published our webinar, which we did for International Women's Day on 8th of March. And as it says there, to mark International Women's Day, 7 female chartered surveyors from 5 different continents participated, and that's live on the website of RICS, which is again fantastic. Thanks to all of you to have participated and all your support as well. So of course, we are honored, privileged, and humbled for RICS to recognize our work down in Southern Hemisphere. I just want to do again for the speaker to know which country we are. Adedoyin, it'd be great if we can, if you can log into menti.com, menti.com, and type in the code 210178. Even if you're in Mauritius, you can tell us where you are, but if you can have your first name and the country, and I'm just going to switch back to menti.com now. Wherever you are, it'd be great to put some context to the presentation today. So I'm just going to go back to menti.com now, and you'll probably see the screen. So anywhere you are, please put the comments in. I know most of you are from Mauritius because that's where we are hosting it, but great to have your name and wherever you are from Mauritius as well. So already we have a few colleagues. So Kimberly, project manager from Saudi Arabia, Nate from South Africa, Sriyash from India, Emmanuel from Mauritius. So already it's great to have all of you. I can see Zena as well. So fantastic to see all of you. Got about 30 seconds, so please put them in as we go through. So take your time, 30 more seconds before we kick off. So fantastic to see all of you here today. All right, so this is good, really good. We've got lots of colleagues from Mauritius, Sri Lanka, India, Qatar, South Africa, Saudi Arabia. So thank you very much indeed for being here, everybody. And that's really put a bit of context to Atunike from Nigeria, my great friend, project manager. Fantastic to see all of you. And it's also put a bit of context to Adedoyin for talking about generally about quality as a cultural and geographical context. I'm just going to move on to the next one. And again, on this one is, what is your understanding of quality? Please put your comment again, just to set the tone in terms of what quality is all about. What do you understand by it? Quality is quality BMW, is quality Merck, is quality having a good product without defects, having a great building with no defects. So it'd be great to have your comments there as well. Some people have put high standard. Some have put Mauritius. Maybe, yeah, we are quality. I don't know about that, but up to the standards, yeah, requirements, just what the client needs. Wow, fantastic answer there. So yeah, again, 30 seconds on that before we move on quickly. We've got so much to cover. Meeting certain standards, okay, norms, value for money, fit for purpose, all of that Adedoyin will probably explore. Zero defects, wow. Hopefully we can strive to get to zero defects one day in our construction industry. High standard, fit for purpose. So already 40 of you have already put your comments in. Thank you very much indeed. So we know the three key ones: meeting requirements, fit for purpose, and high standards. These are the three, and there's small items there as well in terms of value, money, zero defects. But the three key one that stand out right now is high standard, fit for purpose, and meeting clients' requirements. Thank you very much indeed. And I'm just gonna go back to our slides before. So again, if you can see my slide, please let me know as we continue our presentation. Okay, can you see my slide, everyone? Thank you. So that Edinburgh, there was a wall collapse in 2019 or 2018, and there was a 250-page report identifying fundamental defects, which led to a wall collapse in 2018, I believe. Not enough wall tie. The wrong type of tie were used. Wall cavities were not uniform. The poor quality related to all three of the following, and it was to do with direct laying of the brick and the positioning of the wall tie, direct supervision, and the quality assurance processes used by the subcontractor and main contractor, as you can see. So again, these are things which we need to build on. And this is James Wade, a very influential figure in the UK. And he talks about many of the quality failures in our industry can be attributed to the lack of collaboration between builders, engineers, and architects. People from the manufacturing sector think it's insane that the design of a building is not 100% complete before construction starts. And we all been there, you know, where we are pushed onto project because client need the building yesterday, and then quality get compromised. This is lesson from the Grenfell Tower as well. You know, a lot of people died. So I'm just going to share a quick video in terms of how bad Grenfell Tower was. And there was 80+ people lost their life. So I'm just going to go back to video quickly, just to show you. Again, if you can see the video and the sound, please put your hands up as well as I play the video. Off we go here. Thank you.
Never seen a fire spread that quickly in a building in my life. But the biggest problem was the outside. That building was reclad last summer in 2016. They spent £10 million on it. I don't care what anyone says, there's no way that that fire should spread that quickly on a newly refurbished building. I saw those cladding panels, the cladding on the outside and the insulation was just peeling off like you'd peel a banana.
And it was burning?
It's burning, it's fully on fire. I could see the flames behind. There's a new cladding system being put on the outside of the building, so like a new skin, and obviously there's an air gap and insulation behind that. To me, it just looked like that was a fantastic chimney for the fire to rage around. I saw people hanging out the windows. There was a woman on the 14th floor banging something against the outside of the building, screaming at me to get her out. One guy caught a kid. Kid was thrown out of a window from like the 8th floor and a guy just caught him. It's amazing. That guy there on the right hand side, he's just spent 8 hours in that building. And the look in his eyes, phew, hell. The stories that I've heard today from the guys who have been in that building, there's a lot of people who have died. And from what I saw watching it through the entire night and trying to help out, obviously I couldn't do anything. Anybody that was in that building above the 14th floor, I don't know.
Okay, so as you can see, a very sad story there. Just going to go back to the slide again. Once again, please, if you can see the slide, because obviously we're doing the transition from one slide to the other, please put your hands up. Thank you very much indeed. And we can all relate to Grenfell Tower. So, and I think there's a really nice quote there, which I was reading recently. This idea that what quality means varies depending on whom in the sector one talks, to become one of the third themes throughout the discussion. Andrew Carpenter, through the Structural Team Association Chief Executive, said that very often the culture of the UK construction industry play a part in both the perception of quality and eventual outcome. It is our insistence on focusing on the lowest price which determine quality and a lot of the other issues we have to deal with. I'd start with behavior, and then that means addressing procurement, which determine behavior right the way through the supply chain. Carpenter said that was on the 5th of April, 2019. I'm going to send this to you after the webinar, as I do send my email to everybody who's recorded YouTube as well. And this is a fantastic guy, which I think is a tracker, and it's called Building Quality, a guide to achieving quality and transparency in design and construction. And this is John Hughes, past president of RICS, and he goes on to say, quality is not just about designing and building to satisfy the rule, provide technical compliance with the brief, and meet the budget. That is just the minimum quality standard. True quality goes far beyond that. It needs to be the constant theme that underpins the whole of the project life cycle, running as a golden thread from start to finish. So before I introduce Adedoyin, I've got a nice video on quality in terms of us being in the digital era before we really introduce Adedoyin. So again, I'm just going to flip back to just making sure I've got YouTube ready before we go back in. So off we go, and just bear with me again on that one. And it's a really nice video just to set the tone on us being in a global digitalization. Off we go. Here we go. And again, if you can hear the video, please put your hands up and the images. Thank you. Okay, so great video there. I'm just going to move back on to the slide. So thank you very much indeed, everyone. And we've got Adedoyin Obikanye, certified project manager. And this is the lovely Adedoyin on LinkedIn as well. She's now the Chief Executive Officer at Built World NIG Limited. And again, if you want to join and connect with her, please join her on LinkedIn as well. Just a quick one really on Adedoyin. Is a certified project manager with Project Management Institute, Pennysylvania, USA. She has been pursuing her career since 1998 after graduation from the Federal University of Technology, Minna in Nigeria as a quantity surveyor. She has been involved in the management of several construction projects, ensuring quality and schedule delivery within the limit of the project constraints such as time, cost, scope to meet the client needs. She oversaw project management training in the organization where she had worked and is a project management coach and instructor. Last but not least, she's conversant in playing lead roles and directing teams within and outside the organization to get the work done. She was a member of the International Federation of Consulting Engineer Young Professional Forum Steering Committee and the chair of the African chapter of Young Professional from 2011 to 2015. She's extremely passionate about impacting the younger professional and hence involved in project management training and coaching for organization and individual. She's currently the managing director of Built World NIG Limited, a multidisciplinary project management consulting firm that offers project management services, project advisory, and project solution to a client. So before we introduce, if I can ask you to put your video in as well, Adedoyin, and I'm just gonna, if you can put your video as well, and I'm just gonna share a quick poll survey with everyone before we really start. So let me just use that quickly. I'm just gonna relaunch polling, and everybody, if you can see the survey, please let me know. And if you can vote. So let me just check if everybody can see it. No, you can't, or you can. So how many of you had a formal training workshop on quality? How many of you have had or had formal training on workshop on quality? Can be anything: quality control, quality assurance, quality management. Just be honest, sincere, for really for us to get a bit of a more insight. So already most of you have already voted, and I'm just going to stop polling now. What's your percentage, Adedoyin, in terms of people looking to train in quality? Because normally quality is not our priority, right?
Right.
And what's the percentage, do you think, on the survey? Do you think, how many people do you think would say, yes, they have attended training, and no, they haven't?
Maybe 30% have attended trainings on quality.
Wow, awesome. Let me share this with you, and the result is here. 30% says yes, and 70% says no. Already great start there. So as we can see, the importance of having this topic. So let me share another one before we really get stuck in with Adedoyin. And this is a great one, actually, because we all really struggling our head with that one. And this is a good one. So in the current world we are living, and with an ever-demanding client, which one of the eternal triangle will you opt for? Time, cost, or quantity? It'd be great to have your views on that. Any industry you may be, you can be in, you know, in construction or any industry you are. What client want right now? They want cheap item, good quality product. I didn't put all of the above because I know everybody would have said the client wants everything, but I just wanted you to think about it. What's important now in COVID-19? What is really matters to us? So I'm just gonna, what do you think, Adedoyin? Which one do you think people will vote for in terms of time, cost, quality? Which one people will be opting for right now?
I believe cost and quality.
Cost and quality. Okay, awesome. I think Adedoyin is having a great day today, and time is 27%, cost 60%, quality 56%. So already the participants saying we are going for a tough pandemic global issue right now, and cost is probably primary, followed by you know, quality and then time. Of course, we all struggle with time as well. That's why we have so many extension of time. So. All right, so I'm just going to stop sharing now. Thank you much indeed. And can you put your hands up for Adedoyin from Nigeria for this awesome workshop. Adedoyin, take it away. If you can share your slide, please. If you can just share your screen, and then we go full slide for your presentation. And then we'll probably stop about 20 minutes to pick up some questions. Adedoyin has 60 slides. So I don't know how we're going to get over it, but we'll get there slowly and gradually. Fantastic. And then if you go for share screen.
Can you see my screen?
Not if you click on, we can see it, but just click on that slideshow. Click on the slideshow for us to go for full screen. Yeah. Awesome. On that one. Perfect. Awesome. We can see it now. Perfect. Take it away. Thank you much indeed. Again, Adedoyin, humble and honored for your time, for giving back from Nigeria. Take it away. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anil. I really appreciate your invite for me in this place. I also count it as a privilege to be here. And thank you everyone that is here. Thank you for trust and showing up here. And also, I hope that we're able to pick up a few things to help our projects be delivered better so that we can actually retain our clients, we can satisfy them, we can ensure that quality, by ensuring that quality is being met on our projects. So thank you so much for the introduction. I think that has been done. And so these are the few things I would just like to speak about, and about quality plan, project quality management, measuring the performance of quality on projects, quality assurance, and here we are. And so because, you know, quality is usually not deeply emphasized, even though it is being expected. It is one of the constraints to be managed in projects, just like scope, cost, and time. And it should be managed from the start of the project to the finish of the project. You know, at every point in time, quality has to be managed. And quality doesn't just start from, if you're in the construction industry, it doesn't just start from from construction. It doesn't just start from designs. It starts with the planning of the project, okay? So managing the quality of a project ensures that the project requirements are met. These are just a few tips about quality. We cannot effectively say that we have satisfied the client as project managers when the project requirements have not effectively stated. And so what we're driving out in quality is to satisfy the stated and unstated requirements on the project. And it is the project manager who helps to define those requirements. Just in case you forgot, the title of this presentation is The Power of Quality in Project Management. And so I want to help us to understand that we are all project managers somehow. If you're not a project manager, you're part of the project management team. And so you're part of those who will actually help to deliver the requirements of the project. So we cannot effectively say we have satisfied a client as project managers when the project requirements have not been effectively stated. So they must be stated. Now, meeting those requirements means that the client is satisfied, and that is quality. So when we meet the project requirements, the client is satisfied, and that is quality. Therefore, quality, like other project management knowledge areas or project constraints like cost, time, scope, should be planned to satisfy the client's requirements while meeting standards. Okay, so there must be standard, there's industry standard, there are organizational policies towards quality, there are environmental factors and other recognized international quality standards that should be met. Such standards are usually not at the discretion of the client, so the subject matter expertise will bring in these standards and merge with the client's requirements. And that's what will be driving the project towards, okay? So now, about quality and the project manager's team, the project manager and the project management team and quality, we all have a responsibility towards quality. Even though the project manager must keep driving the project towards fulfilling requirements. So the project manager defines the quality management processes for the project and puts in place a plan for continually improving them. So he defines the project quality management processes. The project manager should determine the metrics to be used, measure quality before project work begins. And so you must be able to sit and say, what exactly does quality mean to us on this project? What are the metrics? What are the metrics that are going to be checked in the course of the project? You know, the project manager should recommend continuous improvement to the performing organization standard policies and processes. The project manager should ensure a quality check before an activity or work package is completed. The project manager should ensure quality standards, should ensure that the quality standards and processes on the project are adequate to meet requirements. Yeah, so this looks like we're just being policymakers in project management, in driving quality. But what we're saying is that there are specifications. When we're managing projects, there are specifications that must be followed, adhered to. There are standards that we must be able to meet as project managers, and the project manager is constantly, always driving the project towards meeting those standards. Just a minute, I'm trying to move to the next page. I need to, okay, there we go. Here we are. So one of the things, some of the things that the project manager and his team must do is determine the existing standards, the policies, the procedures that might be available for the project. What standards do we have in the industry? What policies do you have in your organization? What are the procedures that must be followed for the project to be effectively delivered? We must create other standards and processes that may just be needed. We must develop the project, the quality management plan, encompassing relevant standards and processes. We must integrate quality with other knowledge areas to obtain an approved project management plan. So your project management plan is not complete if you do not have a quality management plan. How are you going to manage quality on your project? The project team defines what work will be done to meet the requirements. Some quality activities which may be performed by, some quality activities may be performed by the quality department. Maybe you have a quality assurance department, maybe you have a quality control department. They can be performed by such departments in very large projects, and reports can be provided to the project manager, or the project manager ensures that at the milestones that quality issues are to be checked, they are checked. Okay, so some people think that quality is about testing. You know, so you just want to test, you want to see if something is working, you know. But when projects run into quality problems, some project managers will just think that they need to add more testers to the project to try to find more bugs. But testing is only one part of the quality story. Okay. To know your product's quality, you need to do more than testing it. Testing is about checking to be sure that the product does what it's supposed to do. All right. That means you need to have a good idea of what it is supposed to do to judge its quality. So for you to test anything, for instance, you want to test, you want to do a test, the tensile test for your reinforcement, you need to know what strength that reinforcement is supposed to hold on, is supposed to carry, is supposed to be, so that you know what you're testing. That's why most important concept in defining quality is conformance to requirements. And if we're going to conform to requirements, then we are going to know what exactly those requirements are. So is quality about meeting requirements? Yes. Your product or your project is only as good as the requirements you have written for it. So there's a process in scope management that allows us to collect the requirements so that we can properly define the scope of the project. So what are the requirements for the project? They must be stated. And sometimes, in quotes, they're not stated because you have subject matter expertise dealing with some issues, and so you don't have to write anything. For instance, if you have a toxic material, nobody needs to tell you don't touch. You know you shouldn't touch. Okay, so some requirements might not be written, but high quality product means that it fulfills the requirements that your team agreed to when you started the project or you started the work. So what were the requirements? What were you going to build? What were you going to create? What were you going to achieve? Achieving such requirement can be termed as quality. So the quality is the measurement of how closely your product meets its requirement, right? So if you want to have an access control door somewhere, you have to be able to define the requirements of that access control door. Is it a biometric? Is it a card using access control door? You need to be able to define exactly what the requirements for that door is, and it has to be clearly stated because that's what the performing organization will be working towards. And at various points in times, there will be checks. If you go back to maybe the slide before now, say, do we test? Yes, at various points in time, there will be tests, of those project activities just to ensure that they are meeting requirements. And there are various levels of checks. So we don't wait until the project has reached the end and will now begin to check. I mean, that will just be very disastrous. You have to have the when to check. After some deliverables have been met, you need to check. You need to check for customer satisfaction. You need to check for specification, that the specifications have been met. You need to check that whatever is being produced is what has been planned to be produced. So there's some key words in defining quality as perceived by the end user or customer satisfaction. There's a clause that links quality to customer satisfaction, because at the end of the day, if you don't satisfy your customer, you sort of haven't met quality, or you probably built a different product and the customer isn't satisfied. Okay, so there's fit for use, fitness for use. Okay, so it has to be fit for use. It has to be fit for use. Then there's also the conformance to requirements. Okay, so customer satisfaction, let's look a little bit at that. This is about making sure that the people who are paying for the end product are happy with what they get. You see why quality is so important, because your customer needs to be satisfied. They are getting what they paid for. They are getting what they are expecting, because project management is also about managing the expectations of your clients. So what were they expecting? And that's where that's the direction in which you're building your product. Customers' need should be written down or stated as requirements before you start to build your product. You should be able to say that. I've said that before. That way you can always plan on building the right product, sometimes we're so caught up with time in court and we're rushing. This is what the client wants, this is what the client's saying. You're not able to sit down and state the requirements. You're not able to write them down in very clear written terms so that it can be built. I understand the construction industry and even generally in projects, there's always a pressure on delivery on time. And that's why it's so important for us to have procedures, to have templates in your organization that will help you to keep, to do your work fast enough because of demand, but you're still following the process. So some project requirements can also be left unstated. Those are the ones that are implied by the customer's explicit needs. So some requirements are just common sense, okay? Like a product that people hold can be made from toxic materials that can kill you. It might not be stated, but it's definitely a requirement. So we're not free to go to town. We're subject matter experts. We write down, we as project managers must ensure that the team we're working with puts down these requirements, because that's the work we're in, ensuring that everybody does their work. But you must know the procedure and the process to be able to ensure that that work gets done. So at this point in time, we're looking at quality, and we have to ensure that that quality is also stated and the customer is satisfied. Okay, so fit for use. You know, this is about making sure that the product you build has the best design possible to fit the customer's needs. What would you choose? A product that is beautifully designed, well constructed, solidly built, and all around pleasant to look at, but does not meet the customer's needs, or a product that does what you want despite being categorically ugly to look at. So we need to really think through this. You know, one of the examples I usually use in my classroom is, you know, women we like to use very high heels, very uncomfortable, you know. Very good to look at, solidly, beautifully designed, but it's not fit for purpose. Sometimes they are not fit for purpose. So that's what fit for purpose is talking about. It has to be able to, it must be able to do what it's designed to do, even if it's beautiful, even if it is solidly built. It has to be designed to do what it is meant to do, you know.
Okay, Adedoyin, what we're going to do, let's just take a breather. Let's take some questions, because there's been quite a few questions as well. At least it gives you a bit of a breather as well. So I'm just going to try to stop your screen for the audience to see us. So just don't do anything. I'm just going to go back there and I'm just going to stop. Everybody can see us now on the split screen. And we've got plenty of questions coming in. So maybe we can answer some of the questions here before we go to the next slide. And let me just quickly take the question. We've got Suraj. In most of the project, the L1 bidder is selected on the basis of low bidding amount. But in order to provide the desired quality in project, the other parameters need to be also checked. What's your views? So he's saying about, you know, there's other criteria apart from quality. So what's your views on that, and why we should really, you know, don't overlook quality per se?
Okay, I hope I heard that question right. You see, the quality has to be balanced with other constraints. It's not on its own. So we must work within the constraints that we have. Cost, we must work within the scope, okay? If we are working outside the scope, then we're not actually meeting requirements. We must work with, so quality balance must balance with the scope, with the cost, with the time, and other factors that affect the excellent delivery in project management.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. I've got a question from Kim, who's a senior project manager and engineer in Mauritius. Kim, thank you for your question. Kim says, what would be your response to a developer who told you that his project is cost-oriented?
You see, that's the challenge we have with all of these developers. They want to optimize resources. They want to optimize resources. But the truth is that there are standards. There are industry standards, and you are the professional to advise. So we must build, we can give them advice based on what their costs can carry, what their costs can afford. And if it's not going to work, we have to be blunt enough to tell them that it will not work. A lot of developers are not in the built industries. They're not in the built industry. They're accountants, they're lawyers, and they're businessmen, and they don't seem to understand that your company has to cure for like 21 days. It has to achieve the strength, and then you have to do a lot of hard work trying to convince them. But you see, that's why you're there. That's why I'm there. We're professionals, and we must see. There's some things that can't be compromised with regards to cost. If it's not going to work, it's going to work, and we have to be able to tell them that. You know, sometimes we lose jobs for that. You know? Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. We've got a question from Jean-Luc, who's a site manager, site engineer. And Jean-Luc is saying, how does a project manager measures the quality on the project? Do you use KPI? What do you use to measure quality?
Yeah, I'll get to that, but let me explain. You see, quality is planned, so there must be a plan. Okay, you can only measure what is planned. For instance, and it is from the start of the project. So let's look at design, for instance. You see, when you're doing your designs, you know, at the right corner of your design, you see drawn by, checked by,
yeah,
approved by, you know, and then some projects, one person does everything. One person does all the check. You know, or there's no check at all. And it's just, even in report writing, you know, you just send. That is quality control, that somebody is checking, that somebody has done the design, somebody is checking, and somebody is approving. So you are, that's a way to measure quality on your project.
Okay.
I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you much indeed. There's a very interesting question. All right, thank you much indeed. There's a very interesting question coming from Mazad. And Mazad says, I think quality is somewhat subjective. How can you measure the quality? So, I mean, first up, do you think quality is subjective? So what you see, I can't see, or is it what you see, I need to see as well, based on the specification?
I understand. You see, that's why quality requirements must be written down. Okay, if we're going to use a particular color, then we better get the Pantene, get the actual color. So that's what we want. And so when the performing organization goes to procure, it has to procure this. You know, that's why sometimes in the construction project, when the architect, when you're setting out a building, you just don't begin to build, you set out the building, and then the architect comes to verify and approves that setting out. It's so important so that your building is not like this. Exactly. I think you understand what I'm trying to say, you know? So it is not subjective. It is clearly stated, clearly written. And if it is implied or subjective in some ways, it only means that those requirements don't need to be written. For instance, if you have to put something toxic in the building, you don't need to write and say, everybody, I'm doing toxic today. So, well, you may say that, but it only implies that when something is toxic, you have to treat it that way. You just can't go put your hand in it. You know, so sometimes it can be unstated, but it is not subjective. And why it is not subjective is because the requirements are written down. They are clear. Specification is clear. You know, you're using a 16 mm diameter reinforcement. That's what you're using.
Okay, fantastic. We've got a few more questions, so there's plenty of questions coming in. Thank you everyone for sending your question over. There's a question from my colleague who's a senior QS practitioner in Mauritius, Prakash. How would a project manager motivate a contractor to focus on quality as well as on cost and profit? So based on your experience, how can you motivate a contractor to focus on quality, but at the same time making sure cost as well is looked into, based on your experience?
Let me take that again. He's focusing on quality and at the same time on what?
On cost.
Aha.
Based on your experience, what's your thoughts?
I understand perfectly. You see, it is not at construction that we're now determining cost. Cost is also a planned activity. So we must have had an agreement where cost and quality have been agreed. You know, so your specification, the highest level of specification documents you have are your, for instance, your bill of quantities. So you have that specification there. When we have cost issues, maybe the contractor didn't price well in quote, or maybe there are other economic factors that are affecting the cost, and the contractor cannot deliver. But once the quality requirements are stated and the contract has been signed, regardless of the cost, you have to meet the quality requirements.
Okay. All right, and just quick statement from Chris. Chris again, who's a senior practitioner when it comes to quality and environment. Chris Bonzi. Chris says, being the finalist of the International Quality Professional Year 2018. Congratulations, Chris. I just wanted to add that quality has to meet triple bottom line requirements, such as customer, legal, regulatory, and societal. So thank you for that. We'll take two more questions before we get back to your presentation. We've got Sharon. Thanks, Sharon, for your question. Sharon goes on to say, quality and client's requirement, at times the client requirement do not always meet quality standard. So she's saying the client requirements do not always meet quality standard. Can we always link quality to client requirements? So what he's saying, the brief sometimes is not properly defined when it comes to quality. I take it that's the project manager role to define that, right?
Yeah, so when you take down the brief on your project, the client doesn't understand technicalities sometimes, doesn't understand the technical aspect of that project. And so the subject matter expert has to redefine what those requirements are. It's not all about the client, it's also about the stakeholders. It's about the engineers, it's about the architects. They are the one who will write down, interpret the client's requirements to the technical requirements that are required on that project. So if at that point it is not well stated, then we're gonna have a challenge with the client.
Okay, we've got a question from Chitisha. He talked about obviously in terms of implementation of quality in an organization, which we'll touch shortly. I know you've got more slides to come up. Let me take one final questions. In terms of standards for quality, I mean, is there anything that you recommend as a project manager, or do we need to set our own standard from the inception of the project?
So you need to understand there are industry standards.
Yeah.
Then there are organizational standards. So if you're in a construction company, for instance, there's a particular maybe type of gravel your company will use to do part of the foundation, and it is different from another organization. You say quality, so you can set your standards, but it has to meet up with industry standards and also the organizational policy.
Okay.
It has to meet up with that, yeah.
And final question before we move on to your slide. We talk a lot about culture. So an organization needs to have a quality culture. What's your thought on that, and how do we create that culture just to make sure we get the quality what the spec have actually stated? So what's your views on quality culture, or having the right culture for quality?
The truth is that quality is driven from the top. It's driven by the top management. And so if your top management has compromised quality in some sense, that there will be little or nothing that the middle management or junior management can do. So it's driven from the top. So if you have a quality-driven organization, you just flow in it. Otherwise, you will keep having to convince them that we can use this, we can use that, and it is very difficult once it is not driven from the top.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. We've got a question, so that will be the last question before we take your slide. Adedoyin goes on to say, as a QS, as a quantity surveyor, always also serving as a project manager, how can you ensure there's a balance in terms of cost and quality? So how do you strike the balance?
I'm gonna get down to the real meaning of quality. Okay, so in as much as we must meet requirements, I mean, we must meet industry standards, it is also requirement. You see, you can have marble that is very expensive. You can have the one that is not so expensive. So if you take the one that is not so expensive and you state it as your requirement, and the performing organization is able to provide that, you have met quality. So it is not just about having high quality components. It is really about what you have agreed to provide in court when you are also satisfying industry standards. So
Okay.
I hope I answered that question. Yes.
There's a tricky question. I'll take this because I think that was quite a compelling question that we've been asked. Ashwin says, if a product fully comply with the customer requirement, but made of cheap materials, can we still consider that as a quality product?
This is usually, sorry.
This is a China question.
You see, I understand perfectly what okay, you see, if once the requirement has been stated and it meets industry standards, okay? For instance, you're not, let me try and give an example. You're supposed to use concrete for the flooring, and you decided to use wood for the flooring, and that was the plan. And you know that the wood isn't going to be able to support the building, then you have an issue because you're not meeting requirements. For instance, just to use something absurd. So it is important that as professionals, even if cost is an issue, even if the product, if it is not good enough as a subject matter expertise, then you need to state it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that your requirements are properly stated from the beginning of the project.
Absolutely.
Even if cost is an issue. So you give them the best requirements within the limits of their cost.
Absolutely.
Because some things are totally absurd, right? So.
All right.
So
yeah.
That's it.
Thank you very much indeed. Let's take to the next part now. If you can share your screen again. Thank you very much indeed. There are more questions coming in, so we'll pick that up again. So if you can share your screen again and then go for full slide as you just did initially. Can you have a big round of applause for part one, everybody? If you can put your hands up for Adedoyin and for that. So yeah, you're back on the slide of quality concept and definition. Thank you, Adedoyin. Take it away. Thank you.
Thank you. So this idea, so we're talking about fitness for use, and then the idea came from Joseph Juran, a quality theorist, which I acknowledge. You could pound in a nail with a screwdriver, but the hammer is more fit for the job. We're talking about fitness for purpose. Okay, so while this is possible, but this is not the best way to go about it. I think this answers some of the questions on quality and cost. Peradventure, what you can afford is a screwdriver and not a hammer. Okay, so other quality company, you always choose the product that fits your need, even if it's seriously limited. That's why it's important that the product does what it is supposed to do and does it well. Okay, so the other one is conformance to requirements, which is what we have spoken so much about. This is the core of both customer satisfaction and fitness for use. Above all, your product needs to do what you wrote down in your requirement specification. And so that's why it's important to state it out clearly. You know, we in the construction industry, I know there are other people here, some people are from maybe the IT industry, some people are, but I'm sure you always have areas where the client will always want you to compromise. So at the beginning of the project, it's important for us to state the requirements, state the specifications. Your requirements should take into account both what will satisfy your customer and the best design possible for the job. That is stated and implied needs. You must be able to provide what is best for the job within the other constraints of the project. So in the end, your product quality is judged by whether you built what you said you will build. Quality is the measure of how well your product does what you intend. Then Phillips Kurzweil made this concept of conformance to requirement idea popular in the early 80s. Okay, so we have some emerging thought patterns and practices in quality management. And so what we want to do is prevention over inspection. And so that's why you see, I don't want to preempt myself. So one of the fundamental tenets of modern quality management states that quality is planned, designed, and built in, not inspected. Okay, so when we inspect, is because we want to confirm that the plan was followed, not because we want to check for something else. Okay, so if you focus on preventing mistakes on your project before they happen, you are more likely to get the product done on time and without spending too much money. Okay, so if you focus on preventing mistakes on your project, you are more likely to get it done on time. So time, which is always a constraint, it can be mitigated if we do it well. If we focus on preventing mistakes, okay, without spending too much money. When it comes to defects, prevention is always better than inspection. I can tell you that. Inspection, if we consider quality as inspection, you're talking about rework. You're talking about discoveries of errors. You're talking about spending more money. So management responsibility. It's another, you see, I tried to explain this earlier. Management responsibility is, quality is management responsibility. So because the management will provide the suitable resources and the adequate capacities for quality to be observed on the project. Then we also have mutual beneficial partnership with suppliers, enhancing joint responses to customer needs, expectation, and optimizing cost and resources. But just some of the practices that have emerged just in time, So depending on your industry, many companies find that holding raw materials or other resources in inventory is too expensive and unnecessary. So suppliers deliver such materials only when required, thereby decreasing inventory to nearly zero. Okay, so continuous improvement is one of the emerging practices. So you have the plan, do, check, act. So continuous improvement is one of the benefits we have from quality in the quality management process. Continuously improve. And while implementing your project, it's not only about that project, it's also about other projects that you're going to manage. So from every project, you have your lessons learned that you take into other projects. So you plan, define the goals to be reached and plan how to implement the actions. You implement the planned action, that's do, check, verify that the deliverables are achieved. So depending on the results that occurred in the previous steps, take preventive or corrective measures. So quality improvement initiatives undertaken by performing organizations such as the Total Quality Management Six Sigma should improve the quality of project management and the project's product. Right. So then what is quality? So what exactly is quality? So quality is the degree to which your project fulfills requirement. I think I've said that long enough. Quality is the measure of how well your product does what you intend. Quality is the measurement of how closely your product meets its requirement. So, there are concepts in quality, and I need to explain quality versus grade. Okay, so when people talk about the quality of their car, the quality of a meal, they're talking about its grade, and that's what some people said in the questions. You can judge something's grade without knowing too much about its requirement, but that's a lot different than knowing its quality. Quality means that something does what you intended to do. Grade describes the value people put on it. So you can have a low grade and still meet the quality requirements. So higher grade typically costs more, but just because you pay more for something doesn't mean it does what you intend for it to do. So quality is the degree to which a set of inherent characteristics fulfill requirements. Grade is the category assigned to products or services having the same functional use but different technical characteristics. So when we talk about low quality in that language, we're actually talking about the grade of that, And you might have a low grade, but it's actually fulfilling requirement because that's what because that's what you specified on the project. While the quality that fails to meet quality requirement is always a problem, low grade may not be if it meets requirements. Okay, so I have this example here.
I like that. So I like the lobster.
So if you have a lobster, the lobster is a high-grade meal, and the hot dog is a low grade one, but they are both low quality if actually what you wanted was a salad. Okay, so if the requirement is salad and you have this, then you haven't met quality. So they are low, low quality.
And also, Adedoyin, this is a dangerous slide you've showed us, because at the moment in Mauritius is dinner time.
All right, maybe you would like to have salad for dinner. All right, so gold plating. So gold plating refers to the cost to adding extras, higher quality component, extra scope. Okay, so we call that gold plating in project management. So they wanted a manual driven automobile, manually driven. I know in some parts of the world that doesn't exist right now. Even here in Nigeria, it doesn't exist so much anymore. And that was the specification. And you decided to supply an automatic driven automobile. So your gold plating, you're adding to it, you're providing higher quality, you're providing, so that's not a specification. So your company might have a policy that promotes gold plating, for instance, meet and exceed customers' expectation. Advanced quality thinking does not recommend exceeding as best practice, as it does not meet specification. All available efforts on the project should be geared towards achieving the project's objectives and not gold plating. So if you have, if you're providing a more expensive product, you probably won't get paid for it. So we need to watch gold plating on our project. So this was where we're supposed to ask for more questions, but I think we'll pass, right, Anil?
Let's pause. We'll take some question in about 10 minutes.
All right. So in order to be able,
just one sec, Adedoyin. I have a poll survey on this one. Let me launch polling now, and if you can just vote as well. I think that's a great question. How many of you? Apologies for the mistake there. How many of you have a project quality management in place? So how many of you have a project quality management plan in place? Be honest, be truthful, because I know these type of plan are boring. So do you have them in place or you don't? Be totally honest. I think great for Adedoyin to know about it, because a lot of us don't normally have quality management plan because we are too busy doing the day-to-day operation and stuck in with getting the project done, as opposed to really have a plan to really monitor quality. So all of you have voted, and Adedoyin, what do you think in terms of percentage before I really unleash the results?
Okay, maybe let's say 10%.
Whoa, that's a bit harsh, I think. So 77% say yes, they have a plan, and a whopping 63% says no, they haven't have a plan. So take it away, all yours, Adedoyin.
All right, thank you. Okay, so project quality management includes, so in order to be able to manage quality in our project, we must understand project quality management. How are we going to manage quality? Which was some of the questions that were being asked earlier on, and maybe I've already spoken about them somehow. But project quality management includes the processes for incorporating the organization's quality policy regarding planning, managing, and controlling projects and product quality requirements in order to meet the stakeholders' objectives. So what we're doing is incorporating organizations' quality policy regarding planning, managing, controlling project and product quality requirements in order to meet the stakeholders' objectives. So we have three processes which we will look at, and we have the plan quality, we have the managed quality, we have the quality control. So we plan quality management, you see. The process of identifying quality requirements and or standards for the project and its deliverables, documenting how the product will demonstrate compliance with quality requirements or standards. manage quality, the process of translating the quality management plan into executable quality requirements and of standards. Quality control, the process of monitoring and recording the results of executing the quality management activities to assess the performance and ensure the outputs are complete, correct, and meet customers' expectations. So we're going to be looking at these three processes and how we can apply them to our own project management processes in order to have effective delivery of quality on our projects. So when we look at plan quality management, what we're looking at is what is quality and how do we achieve it? What plan do we have in place for it? So we're going to sit and create a quality management plan, because that's what we're going to use to run quality management on the project. And then we have the managed quality, which in quote is something like quality assurance that assures the client if we are following policies, metrics, procedures, and processes as planned, or our procedures and processes giving us the intended result. So will we meet the quality requirements of the project? Now, control quality is what most people are familiar with, because I believe on all projects to an extent there's a measure of check on the quality control of the project. Are the results of the work meeting the standards and required metrics? Is the variance within acceptable limits, or do we have to take action? Okay, so the results of monitoring the project, is it within acceptable limits, or do we have to take action? So that's what we'll be looking at, and these are all the inputs. Tools,
wow, this look heavy.
A lot, but we only use what is required in our own industry, okay? Yeah. So this is subset of, I should have mentioned this earlier because I'm PMP certified. I do a lot of my trainings with the project management body of knowledge. So these are the standards that they provide for us to be able to plan quality, manage quality, control quality. So we'll be looking at a few of the inputs, the charter, the inputs, the tools and techniques, and the outputs. So what do we expect from the quality, from the project quality management process? What exactly are we expecting from them? Okay, so the hallmark of project management is planning, whether we're dealing with quality or not. So it's only what you plan that you can execute, you can measure, you can control. It's what you plan that you can implement. Okay. So if you implement without planning, I'm sure there's some things that will just be missing along the road, and then we'll have to go through a lot of rework, dissatisfaction with the client. So the plan quality process addresses the management of the project and the deliverables of the project. This applies to all projects, regardless of its nature. Quality measures and techniques are specific to the type of deliverables being produced by the project. So if you're in the IT industry or if you're in the building industry, there are quality measures that are specific to your industry. For example, the project quality management software deliverables may use a different approach and measures from those used when building a nuclear power plant. Okay, so in both cases, failure to meet quality requirements will have a serious, sorry about that, negative consequence for any of the project stakeholders. So if we do not follow the quality requirements on these type of projects, then we have a lot to deal with negatively. So when we plan quality management, the plan quality management process is how we prevent defects on the project. So since prevention is the best way to deal with defects, you need a lot of planning to make sure that your product is made with as few defects as possible. This is the process of identifying quality requirements and standards for the project and product. Okay, so some of the inputs you need is the project charter, a high-level project description, and product characteristics. It contains approval requirements and measurable objectives, and also organizational process assets. You know, so your company, what do they do with their quality policies? It needs to be imputed in your plan, because you know you can't be more than the organization. Otherwise, you'll be planning out of the scope of what the organization can perform. You should make sure your project follows the company policy. Then there are other standards, environmental standards. Any company or governmental rules or regulations, you know, maybe your country, they have some standards for parking. Maybe you're building a mall, there has to be a standard parking setback for your fencing and stuff like that. All that needs to be considered in your quality, in planning for quality on the project. So others are your requirement management plan. It provides an approach for identifying, analyzing, and managing requirements. You know, so there is a required management plan, which is a subset of the project management plan, and then that talks about the quality management plan and metrics that will be required for managing a project. You also need a risk management plan. It provides an approach for identifying, analyzing, and monitoring risk. The risk management plan and quality management plan work together to successfully deliver the product and the project process. Then you have the stage management, the stakeholder, because you must know what the stakeholders are saying. You must know what they're saying with regards to their requirements. Yeah. And then you have the scope baseline, because you must know the limits of your project so that you can now plan for it. Okay, so others are project documentation, assumption logs, constraints regarding quality requirements, and standard compliances. So these are just some of the project documentations that you need to have in order to be able to put planning in place. Stakeholder is very important, because you must take their requirements, and stakeholders are not, they are technical stakeholders. Okay, so if you don't meet their requirements as a performing organization, then you haven't met quality on the project. So how do you go about this? Expert judgment. So because you have subject matter experts, you can have expertise requires training in the following: quality assurance, control, measurements, improvement systems. There are also data gathering, benchmarking, you know, the process of comparing previous similar activities to provide a standard to measure performance against. Because something has happened in the past, you're able to say, this is the standard that we require, whether it's a product or a process. Brainstorming, you sit and you brainstorm with your team on how you're going to manage the quality on that project. Interviews, you can ask questions, data analysis. Some are cost-benefit analysis, which is good for you to know that this is looking at how much your quality activities will cost versus how much you will gain from doing them. So the main benefits are less rework, higher productivity and efficiency, and more. You know, so cost of quality, this refers to the total cost of efforts related to quality throughout the product life cycle. The truth about the cost of quality is that whether we are in agreement with quality or not, we're going to pay for it at some point in the project. So what you want to do is pay for prevention costs or appraisal costs. You don't want to pay for failure costs. And so you need to understand the cost of quality on the project. Okay, so that you can weigh the cost benefit analysis and then decide to plan effectively for quality, even sometimes when it is expensive. For instance, if if you're piling a building, you must do the load test. It's part of the work. You must do the integrity test. It's part of the work.
Yeah.
So those are their costs, their prevention costs. I mean, it's easier, it's better to test a pile to failure than for us to have a disaster after the building has been constructed. So there's no choice to that cost of that cost. I call it the cost of rest of mind. So cost of conformance, and then there's cost of non-conformance. You can have prevention, training, documenting, equipment. You have appraisal cost, testing, destructive testing, and even inspection. So money spent to avoid failures is what we call the cost of conformance. And money spent during and after project due to failures is the cost of non-conformance. So there is a cost attached to quality. So I believe it's better we spend prevention and appraisal cost. So there are other tools, because while in the construction industry, some of these things may not apply. There are other industries here, the manufacturing, there IT, there, to be good to know what other industries are available here. So you have data representation, flow charts. Data representation are like flow charts. These are process maps because they display the sequence of steps and the branching possibilities that exist for a process that transforms one or more inputs into more output. So your input and output processes can be represented by data, flow chart, or mind mapping. Okay.
Adedoyin, just a quick one. Why mind mapping is so important? If you can just elaborate on that, because I don't think we do enough mind mapping. Why is it so important?
So in quality, a mind map is often created around a single quality concept drawn as an image in the center of a black landscape page, to which associated representations of ideas such as images, word, and parts of the world are added. This technique may be used in the rapid gathering of quality requirements. It's just to help gather requirements. We don't use it in construction, but in other industry, just to help to gather the requirements, that we'll have to align with in the project.
Thank you.
Yeah. So test and inspections planning. During the planning phase, the project manager and the project team determines how to test the project. So you need to know how to test, when to test, what to test. So that forms part of the plan. Helps to inform on the quality plan that you are driving yourself towards in this process, because this process is plan quality management process. So decision making can be used to help prioritize quality metrics, okay? So what metrics are we looking at when we do the testing? Meetings. Project teams may hold meetings to develop the quality management plan. So, because it's not all about the project manager, it's the project team. So we come about. So what do we want to achieve at the end of the day? The output we're looking at is the quality management plan. Gives you what you need to manage quality. Once you have your quality management plan, you know your guidelines for managing quality on the project. So the quality management plan gives you a guideline of what to manage on the project. The quality management plan is a tool for preventing defects. So you just have a highlight of what to manage at every stage on the project with regards to quality, irregardless of your industry. So what exactly are you looking out for to manage on the project? So the quality management plan should have the following quality standards that apply to the project, who will be involved in managing quality, when and what, okay? So when and what? Review of earlier decisions to ensure such are right. Review of earlier, okay? Meetings to be held addressing quality. In some projects large enough, we should actually sit and have quality meetings. Are we meeting quality on the project? Not progress meetings, quality meetings. Or during the progress meetings, we're able to address quality issues. or when we have technical meetings, we're able to address quality issues. What metrics will be used? What part of the project deliverables are to be measured and when? The quality management plan is the main output of the planned quality process. And it is a subset of the project management plan. So what we're driving towards is having a quality management plan, which was the question you asked earlier. How many of us have quality in that project? So quality metrics are the kind of measurements you take throughout the project to figure out its quality. So the subject matter experts, everybody sits down and tells us what are the metrics. We'll decide the metrics. So at the time we choose the test, this is what we expect to see. You know, these things are not so tough if you're in your industry. So when you're in your industry, you're able to derive all of these metrics. You're able to sit down and do the plan. What happens is that we just go to town and we begin to implement the project, and then sometimes we remember that do this, do that, do this, do that, you know, but we should actually sit down, put down the requirements, have a plan, and document it. And that's what we will do in the next, and when we have that down, let's
take some question, and also for you as a breezer. So let me just stop that, and we'll get back on the main screen as well. Fantastic, and we'll take some question as well, which is fantastic. So we've got about half an hour to go, and we'll just make sure, and we've got the last session as well with Adedoyin. So there was just a statement from Dr. Deva from India, and Dr. Deva says cost is real, even if it's an estimated cost. Once frozen in the contract, it has to be met unless there's a provision to pass it on to the other party. But that was just a statement. There's a question from a senior engineer, my colleague and senior project manager, Kim. Kim says, how do you solve the equation between the developer who is concerned with costs and the end user who look for quality? Do you consider an end user satisfaction? So what's the balance in terms of developer looking for costs and what's the end user satisfaction? How do you, I think we've talked about it, but quickly on how do you strike the balance?
Well, I believe there are different classes of developers.
Yeah.
There are different classes of buildings. So that's it.
Okay.
Provided you have your requirements written. I mean, if you're looking for a high class type of development, that the developer, if it's in a posh area, for instance, in Lagos, if your development is at Ikoyi, it's probably going to be a posh building. If your development is at some other parts of the town, it might not be such. It might just be basic, So, we all know what real estate says. It goes with the location. Goes with the location. The cost of the building goes with the location of the area where it is specified. So, well, end users will want everything. If it's a developer, end users will want everything.
Absolutely.
Even if it's develop. Even if it is a low-class developer providing that kind. End user will want everything. So it will be up to the end user. It will be up to the choice of the end user to find the right development that they require.
Okay, thank you. We've got a question from Adegoya Subomi from Nigeria. Since standard operating procedures, which is SOP, standard operating procedures, is important to organization in achieving quality, there has been some reviews by professionals that SOP don't promote innovative ideas because the change process is long, especially for multinational organizations. What is your take on this? And how often do you think standard operating procedures should be reviewed by organization? I think, yeah.
I think I'm back. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you were frozen slightly. So what's your views on SOP, which is standard operating procedure, because it doesn't provide innovative ideas based what Sugomi said. And how long do we need to review it as well? I think we've frozen, so let's just see if you can hear me. Can you put your hands up as well, please? Yeah, can you hear us now?
So I got cut off. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, perfect.
So, well, I hope what I heard is that standard operating procedures, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so standard operating procedures are peculiar to organizations, isn't it? They are peculiar to various organizations, and they really should be, depending on your organization, if it's a performing organization, it should be developed with regards to industry standards. And it should be checked from time to time with industry standards. If you're talking about ISO, I mean, ISO certification is checked. I mean, just how your company operates. I think once a year is good enough, because you would have gone through a lot of projects to be able to determine what changes you need to put in place for your SOP. That's my understanding.
Okay, there's a question from an architect, a senior architect, again, colleague of mine. He's saying, if a quality management plan fails, is the project manager responsible and liable for it?
Well, if the quality management,
do we find the project manager as the scapegoat?
No, it's if the project fails.
Yeah, if a quality management plan fails, will the project manager be liable for it?
I need to understand where this person is coming from, because I don't understand what it means for a quality management plan to fail. It's a project management team effort. So each subject matter expert is involved in developing the project management, the quality management plan.
Yeah.
You know, because the project manager doesn't own the standards. The project manager has the responsibility to ensure that the standards are imputed in the plan. The subject matter expert owns the standards. When it comes to inspection, when it comes to, in the plan, for instance, if you go to your building and you find out that you're supposed to have maybe 35, your concrete was supposed to have a particular strength, and it doesn't have that strength, we'll go back to the books and say, what was designed for it? If the design for it is wrong, then there's an issue. So I wish I could have that person ask that question in another way. So, because if the plan fails, have the specifications also failed? Has the design failed? Did the implementation fail? Has the project failed? So it's not enough to just say the quality management plan failed. It's
awesome.
It's a whole lot.
Thank you, fantastic. Thank you very much indeed for that. I think that's really good, because you've really gone deep into asking the question, where's the failure start? What's the root cause? There's a question from Atunike, again from Nigeria. Atunike, who is a project manager. How do you solve quality issues as regard to poor workmanship? Correct and quality material have been specified and procured, but somehow installation is not on par with some people's expectation, such as styling work. How do you balance that? You know, how do you solve the quality issues with regard to poor workmanship?
So that's why we have construction supervision. Okay, so at every point in time in the project life cycle, there is a certain requirement that allows supervisions to overrule. So you don't allow your contractor to just feel free and just keep working. So you approve the work. Once they do the setting out, architect, you approve the setting out. Once they have done the plastering, you approve a certain portion of plastering of the works.
Yeah.
When the tiling starts, you approve a certain portion and then you give them the authority to continue the work. So you don't leave them to just feel free and keep working, and then you come on Saturday and wow, break everything down. You know, so there's that. So you must be able to state it at the beginning, or state the requirement that we must approve, we must test, we must see your samples, we must see, we must test the strength of the concrete at 7 days, at 14 days, at 21 days, so that we're sure that we're working towards building the right product. You know, okay. So if your contractor has gone a long way and then, I mean, that's too bad. Okay, so there will be a rework. There will be, I mean, there's a waste of resources and time.
Okay.
If supervision is not strong enough.
All right, thank you. We'll take two more questions quickly. There's a question there. In terms of COVID-19, do you see clients trying to reduce costs at the expense of quality? I mean, are you experiencing that in Nigeria right now?
Well, some clients will always try to reduce cost, COVID or no COVID. So we always have that in place. But with regards to COVID, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that yet because, I mean.
So you seem to have rich clients.
No. I'm saying that with regards to COVID, I haven't seen a scenario where the client is saying, oh, because of COVID, we cannot, we don't, we're not going to build anymore. Okay, well, in quote, except the resources are not coming in.
Yeah, okay.
The resources are not coming in, then we'll have a challenge with that client.
All right, fantastic. We've got a statement from...
And even if it is COVID related and the costs are not coming in, because, you know, right now the ports are having challenges, there are delays, and they have to clear. There's a lot more money to spend clearing equipment and materials. So some clients are really getting stuck because of the inflation. I mean, the Naira fell so badly during the COVID, and so it has affected the cost of buildings, you know, cost of materials. So yes, some projects are really getting stalled because of COVID.
All right, thank you.
Economic factor, yeah.
We just take a quick statement from Chris Bangzi. He says, why this industry do not try and ensure that each stakeholder have a baseline quality level, such as a certified system of ISO of the latest version that would lead all players to easily meet all those mentioned required as a base grade. What's your thought in terms of having a baseline quality level for everyone to work on?
Well, I think I agree with that. It would be great to have a baseline quality level, but it is subject to professional advice. I think even without ISO, there are baseline quality levels already. There are British standards. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to produce a screw or a nut, there are standards that guide such production, you know. Okay. So those standards are being stated, and as professionals, we should state it. Even if there are low ones, we should state it as professionals. You know, the construction industry is sort of quite free, but there are standards that your organization could have policies not to go below.
Yeah.
Some contracting firms are like that. They won't go below a certain standard and they'll charge you for it.
Absolutely. Quickly, last question. Do you think we had the BIM webinar recently, building information modeling. Do you think by the introduction of AI, digitalization, and all the advanced technological advancement, with collaboration with BIM, do you think that will assist with improving quality of work, especially BIM and GIS? What's your thoughts?
I think the introduction of building information, BIM into the construction industry, I think is fantastic. Yeah, it's going to cost a bit more, but I think we should all go for it. It's going to enhance quality, meeting quality requirements, and it will make it easier. Yeah, to make it a lot easier to meet
before
quality.
you, okay, thank you. Before you take your final part of presentation, what's your thoughts on ethics and quality? So we know, like, sometimes to get to quality, we have cheap labor, cheap product being sourced unethically. What's your views on ethics and quality, quickly?
Well, with regards to ethics, it's the company, it's the organization. So it's the culture of the organization. And it's driven from the top. Quality is driven from the top. So if the ethics of the organization compromises on quality, then we're going to have a problem. If it I had explained quality and grade. So if they substitute grade for quality, then they are going to have a problem. So it is the culture of the organization. So is the organization doing what they said they will do, or will they always like to compromise on what they said they will do because they want to save money?
Okay. All right, awesome. So let's take the last slides. We've got about 25, 30 minutes to finish off. We still have 200 participants with us right now. And if you can show your slide, please. And then we'll take the last slides and we'll take some question at the end. So if you can show your slide, please, Adedoyin, back on. Can we have a big round of applause for Adedoyin from Nigeria right now for sharing all her wisdom and knowledge to us now. So if you go to slide number 40, I believe, where you picked up, thank you very much indeed. So please big hands up for Adedoyin for the last part. And really interesting to make this quality, which is not often the glamorous part of the construction industry. So thank you and take it away.
Thank you very much. So we have two processes to discuss here. We have the managed quality process. Please allow me to say that a lot of the processes I'm discussing are from the PMBOK, which is where I have my PMP certification from PMI.
And Adedoyin, can you explain what PMBOK is for many participants who doesn't know the technical name of PMP Project Management Institute? What's PMBOK? Because some people might be thinking it's boxes.
I'm so sorry. PMBOK is the Project Management Body of Knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's something like the Bible of project management with Project Management Institute, something like that.
And just at the back of it, Adedoyin, would you recommend colleague watching us today? Would you recommend them in getting PMP certified? You being a certified project manager.
Definitely. You see, when you get certified and when you take the courses that help you get certified, your mind gets bigger and more liberated because you're looking at managing a project maybe worth, for instance, like a $500 million US project, and you are cutting across 3 or 4 or 5 nations. You're talking to people that don't speak the same language, and they're in your project team and you're meeting with them virtually and you're planning with them. The PMBOK will help you, the PMP will help you to understand how to manage projects of such magnitude and what you're going to consider. So it just opens up your mind to various aspects of project management and various industries as well.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, I would advise that aspiring project managers also get the certification. All right, so we have 2 policies and quality. We have 2 processes to deal with, and I'll just try to explain it without going through the slides, and then we'll just go through the slides quickly. We have the managed quality process, and we have the quality control process. You see, in the PMBOK 5th edition, the managed quality process used to be called the project quality assurance process. And then the other one is the quality control process. And I'll just use this scenario to explain the 2. Now, in project assurance, what you want to do is to assure the client that the project quality management plan and the quality control process and the quality policies in your organizations are being followed. And so it is an execution, it's an execution process. So you just check, are they following the process? Are they meeting the standards? Are they following the quality policies that have been set out? Okay, and then you now have the quality control process that takes you through your project, and at various times on the project, you are checking the quality plan and ensuring that the quality process is also being followed, but within the project activities and the various deliverables on the project. And I usually like to explain with this example. In your organization, you have the accounting department, and if you're a contracting organization or even a consulting organization, I mean, you just don't go to the account and say, I need $500, I'm going to site today. The accountant isn't going to listen to you.
Yeah, yeah.
So you make a requisition, right? You go for approval, and the relevant signatories must sign off for the accountant to be able to say, yes, you qualify for this money, to buy this, to procure this, to do that, and to, you know. So, but at the end of the year, or at the end of each, for the year, for instance, you have the accountant, or you have an audit of all the accounting processes, and the accountant wants to know where you and the auditor wants to know if you followed through the processes to be able to. The accountant follows through the proper processes to relieve the checks that were released for the year. You know, if you are very familiar with your accountant, will say, I need to see the invoice, I need to see the receipt, I need to see the quotation, and so he works for the auditor. That process is called, that one of process is what I used to explain the project quality assurance, because you need to assure the auditor, you need to show the auditor that you followed due process. Absolutely. And you were not just checks, you were not just crediting accounts without approval from the necessary authority. But the process of the engineer, or the process that takes you through approving from various departments to get the required funds to be able to run your project, are the quality control processes. I hope I'm clear.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely clear there. Yeah, thank you.
So that helps you to understand when they say quality assurance, you know, because we use the word so, I mean, we just use it anyhow, quality assurance and quality control. Quality control takes you through the project activities and you get your sign off. So when I spoke about setting out of a building and then the architect signs off before you raise the building, those are quality control activities. But the one-off exercise at the end of the year, one-off to show that the quality control processes are being followed, is what's called quality assurance. So you're being assured, you're assuring the client of the fact that quality is being observed duly on this project. So the managed quality process can also be referred to as the quality assurance. So the managed quality process has a broader definition than quality assurance. So quality assurance is about using the project processes effectively. It involves following and meeting standards to assure stakeholders and the final product will meet the needs and expectations and requirements. And I mean, in your organization, if you're ISO certified, once a year there's an audit of your organization by ISO, by Standard Organization of Nigeria, if you're Nigerian, for instance. That is a quality assurance process. And you're showing to them that we follow the process to get our work done. We follow the standards that we have set for ourselves to get our work done. So that's what managed quality process is about. at least a part of it. But the managed quality process implements a set of planned and systematic acts and processes designed with the project quality management plan that helps to design an optimal mature product by implementing specific design guidelines that address specific aspects of the product. So this managed quality process has been upgraded not only to cover the assurance of quality, but even to affect the type of designs that we provide for our projects. So it builds confidence that a future output will be completed in a manner that meets the specified requirements and expectations through quality assurance tools and techniques such as quality audits. Confirm that quality processes are used and their use meets the quality objectives of the project.
Yeah.
And also improves the efficiency and effectiveness of processes. So that's what managed quality is about. Okay, so it's about assurance, it's about efficiency, it's also about continuous improvement. So the quality assurance department may carry out some of the activities to manage quality activities. One of the activities is the process of auditing the quality requirements and the results from quality control measurements to ensure that appropriate quality standards and operational definitions are used. So we're getting maybe technical here, you know, with quality. Okay. In managing quality, you take all of the outputs from the plan quality and perform quality control and look at them and see if you can find ways to improve the process. So yes, you want to be sure that the audit is, that the quality control processes are taking place.
Yeah.
So it's audit process to ensure, to let the client know or assure the client that quality management is taking place on the project. So I don't want to say
just a quick one as well, Adedoyin. I'm just going to share a survey quickly. Be good to have that survey as well. Do you have a culture of quality in your organization? I think that's a very important one at the back of what you've just obviously described. I know we've got 10, 15 minutes left now, but do you have a culture of quality in your organization? Very important one on that one, because I think at the back of what we've just talked for almost an hour and 1 hour and a half now, it's about having the right culture. And already 50% of the participants have voted. Please put your vote in. I know in some of the areas in geographical in the world, sometimes we can't see the question, but most of you have voted. What's your thought on that, Adedoyin, in terms of, I'm just going to stop the poll now.
Okay, well.
What's the percentage, do you think?
Let me say about 40%, yeah.
40% say yes, yeah? I think what you've just done, because you've actually gone through the whole presentation, people have realized that they actually do it as well. So that's why the result has gone up. So a whopping 73% says there is a culture of quality in organization. It's whether it's a matter of adopting it, implementing, that's a different matter altogether. But right now, 73% says yes, and a minor popularity, a minor segment of the participant today says 27%. So why culture is so important at the back of what you explained?
Was that the question?
Why culture is so important at the back of your presentation today?
Yes. Well, it's very, the quality is about meeting requirements. It's about meeting requirements. So if we don't have a culture to meet requirements, then we're going to have issues on the project. So it is the degree to which our organization has culture that we should be looking at. To what degree do you think that your culture, your organization has quality as a culture?
Okay, thank you much indeed.
Your organization, yes.
Okay, thank you much indeed. We've got 10 minutes to wrap up. Adedoyin, thank you very much.
Okay, so the last is the let me just go to the output of what's going on here of the quality. So what you have from managed quality, you have quality reports, you have evaluation documents, format to evaluate whether quality objectives have been met. The quality report interprets, documents the results of managed quality for process, projects, and products. So you have quality reports, you have change requests, you have project management updates, because in managing quality, you will discover that maybe there's some other requirements you need to put in place before the project ends so that you can meet them, or maybe during the audit process, you find out that the quality culture is not strong enough. You need to strengthen it in some areas just to ensure that the project meets requirements. So the last we have is the quality control or control quality. It's a process of monitoring and recording results of executing the quality management activities in order to assess performance and ensure the project outputs are complete, correct, and meet the customer's expectation. So I think I've explained this, and I think everybody has gotten this to some extent. Also, so control quality is the process where ensuring a certain level of quality in a deliverable, whether it be a product, service, or result. So to control means to measure, and somebody asked that question before. You can only measure what has been planned. So that's what we're doing in this process. What was the plan? And what are you checking? And the reason why you're checking throughout the deliverables within your project. I mean, if they're going to supply the door, you want to be sure that the door is meeting the requirement. If they want to supply a window, you want to be sure the window. You want to supply HVAC system, for instance, you want to be sure that the test you're performing, the materials they're bringing to site are meeting the stated requirements. So that's what quality control is all about. It is all about inspecting the work product to find defects. And if you find defects, you go to your plan, do check, act. You act quickly, because you're not finding defects at the end of the project. It is within the project. It is performed throughout the project. It's not enough to inspect the product, inspect the final product. All of the things that you make throughout the project should be looked into to find defects, okay? So you're ensuring that you're meeting the standards, you're ensuring that you're meeting the requirements. So these are some of the inputs. You need the project management plan, you need your project documents, updates, lessons learned, quality metrics, approved change requests, deliverables, work performance data, environmental factors, organizational factors, the organizational policy, organizational process assets. So I'm going to skip some of these and just go to the output. So what you come up with at the end of the day is the measurements and verified deliverables. Verified deliverables. That means that this work has passed and it has been accepted, and then you can go on. Okay, so it's an approval of work to continue. Work performance information on project requirements, fulfillment, information on project requirements, fulfillment, or rework required, commendations for corrective actions, list of verified deliverables. So you come up with a whole lot of lists. Some of them are good, some of them are not. But if you do control quality on your project, it helps you to be able to get back on track if something goes wrong. We know these things, but the challenge with us in some of our industries is the time, and then you overlook, and then you didn't do it, and then there are challenges. So it is to painstakingly take time to ensure that quality is controlled on your project. So it is planned, it is controlled, and it is assured. That's what quality, that's the power of quality in project management. So those are the few things I have to say to you today. I hope they're okay. My references are the 6 p.m. box, 6th edition. We have Rita, O'Reilly. Those are the, so here we are. If you have any further questions.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. We will just stop. So thank you. There's some of the questions coming out. I'm just gonna try to, so can we have a big round of applause for Adedoyin, please, for this awesome presentation today. Fantastic, already 2 hours gone. And so before we take all the questions, I'm just gonna get back and maybe, so Adedoyin, if you can just maybe switch off your video, I'll do a conclusion for 5 minutes before I get back to you. So have a quick breather, and I'm just gonna conclude on, before we get back to you to take the questions. So I'm just gonna, if you can see my slide, please, if you can see my slide, just making sure we've got conclude. So thank you very much indeed, Adedoyin from Nigeria, fantastic. If you can see my slide, can you put your hands up as well? We'll take your question shortly. So I want to just share this video, and it's all about quality. I found that very interesting. If you've seen that, can you put your hands up? I've shared that before. So I'm just going to play that up now. And it's really one, and it talk about perfection and quality if one day we can achieve that. So, right, off we go. And if you can obviously hear the sound and the images, please let me know. So just making sure we've got that ready, and off we go.
I've had my ups and downs, my fair share of bumpy roads and heavy winds. That's what made me what I am today. Now I stand here before you. What you see is a body crafted to perfection, a pair of legs engineered to defy the laws of physics, and a mindset to master the most epic of splits.
Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows? Only time. And who can say if your love grows as your heart shows? Only time. We
Okay, so a big round of applause therefore, and don't try this at home. I'm just going to go back on the slides quickly as we conclude and get Adedoyin back shortly. So just quickly further reading, I had that book a few years ago, and it's talk about managing quality. The book talk about popular and highly successful texts on quality management, which has been fully revised and updated to reflect recent development in the field. New to the 6th edition is timely coverage of agile development, emerging market, product research, evidence-based decision-making, and quality control. Some of the material has been reordered, and changes to terms have been made to bring the book completely up to date. Contribution from new co-author David Bamford offers insight from a veteran teacher and practitioner. It also goes on to say that the word quality has many definitions dependent on the context and situation. It is often overused, but always in demand, and it can make or break a business. Absolutely what Adedoyin has mentioned. It also goes on to say quality management is becoming an increasingly vital factor in the success of a product or service, and it requires constant attention and a continuous drive to do better. And finally, managing quality is a comprehensive resource that helps to ensure and sustain high quality standard. I will share this with you as well after the event via email, and this is a fantastic tracker. It's called Building Quality, a Guide to Achieving Quality, and transparency in design and construction, which I mentioned earlier, 2 hours earlier. And this is the president of the Royal Institute of British Architects, Ben Derbyshire. And he says, we owe it to our client, investors, and most importantly, the people who live, work, and play in our building to make it work. I urge you to read this guide and volunteer to pilot the quality tracker. Once and for all, let's build in quality. So I think I love this one, and it's a fantastic word as we conclude. So I'm just going to do a survey, and if I can have Adedoyin back on the screen, please, to do this survey. So I'm just going to do the survey quickly before we take your final question. Adedoyin, if I can have you back, please, on the video. If you can put your video on, please. And I'm going to share a final survey. And the final survey is a good one. And you will see the survey now popping up. And the survey is, based on the presentation today, are you motivated to embrace quality and take it to the next level on your project and in your organization? So a very, very important one. Almost already, most of you have already voted. And I'm just gonna, please keep voting. And based on the presentation today, are you motivated to embrace quality and take it to the next level of your project? So I'm just gonna stop there. What's your thought today, Adedoyin? What do you think?
I think everybody will want to take quality to the next level in their project.
What sort of percentage do you think has been motivated by you today?
98%.
Whoa, okay, here we go. So it's here, 98% have said yes, 2% are currently hungry. They want to probably go for dinner. That's why they probably said no, or by mistake. But can we have a big round of applause, everyone? 98% said yes. Let's make sure quality. I tell you why, because, you know, a job can be expensive at the end, but people will be remembered for the quality. You know, you're only good as your last job, as we say. So let me just stop result there, and then just go back to the slide quickly before we finally touch on the. So thank you, Adedoyin, huge appreciated. I'm extremely impressed by you being a quality champion, your kindness, energy, sheer willingness and determination to keep sharing consistently experiences, wisdom, knowledge, and for being a global role model for all of us. So we look up to you as a project manager. So from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of all participants today, can we have a big round of applause for giving back despite the 3-hour gap between Mauritius and around the world to Nigeria. So take care, be safe, and thank you very much indeed for that. So I'm just going to go back to take some questions before we have the final word of wisdom. So in terms of the, we've already got almost 185 of you right now. Chris says, fantabulous webinar and very knowledgeable one. Thank you, Chris. Chris from Nigeria, I believe, he says, where's the conflict between quality specification, between building authority and a quality plan? What's your advice? So if there is a conflict between building regulation and the specification, what's your advice, Adedoyin?
The building regulation is an input into the quality plan. You have to, it's an input.
Yeah, it's an inbuilt, yeah?
It's an input, so you can't overrule the building regulation.
Okay, fantastic. I've got a comment from Kemp 2021. Anil, I don't think that this would work all the way in Mauritius because we have so many graded contractors. How you would expect a grade F contractor would give you a good building, plus most of our contractors are businessmen. Thank you for your comment there. There's a talk about, one just looking at, right, very true. Hajiya said, thank you very much for an insightful webinar. Thank you, Adedoyin and Anil. Ramdas said, great presentation, keep it up, keep providing us with such quality people. That's Ramdas. There's last question which I will take, and it talked about quality control and management usually include a lot of paperwork, right? How do you think we can improve from paperwork to be paperless and get into IT? how do we kind of really reduce the paperwork? Is that a culture again to get people to think about try to be paperless, use as much tablet, and again it goes back to the BIM and collaboration?
Well, so we have to, I mean, we just have to gain paperless work environments. I mean, it has to go back to the culture of the organization. It's the choice of the organization to be paperless. And
as a project manager, what's your advice in terms, how do you motivate your team to go paperless?
It's the culture of the organization. And if the project management team sits down and decides the mode of operation for quality management in terms of paperless, and then we'll just go for it. We'll get the education, we'll get the software, we'll get the way to go about it, and then we just arrange it. It has to be agreed, otherwise we'll just be, it has to be agreed with the project management team or the project team in general, inclusive of the client, to go paperless. We can approve. I mean, a lot of organizations are already, even if they're doing some paperwork, they still ensure that information is being shared via the internet. Yeah, via the internet. But it has to be a conscious effort to go paperless, both by your organization and the project team.
Okay, thank you. We've got a few minutes to go. Project Foresight, thank you for the presentation, Adedoyin, hugely appreciated. Thank you, Madam, for the fantastic presentation. Sharon, thank you for this great webinar. We've got the session is the best in history. Someone is just saying the session is the best in history. Thank you, Chitisha. There's a question coming up. Like I said, we've got a few minutes to close. So any question, we'll just take the wisdom from Adedoyin. If the critical path of the project was set to follow standards and product requirement, if the critical path of the project was set following standard and product requirement, no project timeline would be met. I'm not too sure what LD is saying there. I'm a bit confused. Jean-Luc says, we can even make a template for construction industry, another one such as textile industry. So what he's saying is that, you know, like we have car manufacturing, they are fully automated. And maybe we can apply that to the construction industry. What's your thought on that? I know there's been lots of research on maybe off-site construction to increase quality.
The challenge with the construction industry is that we're not like the manufacturing industry in quote, and so they always look at us like we don't take quality issues serious enough because it is personally, professionally driven, and if it is, and probably organizationally driven, you know, so professionals need to, like the last question that we answered on, like, that looked like this, we need to have a minimum quality consideration in our offerings to the client. So we don't, in as much as costs might be an issue, we should be able to have a minimum standard that you offer as a professional in the industry. You know, so we are the ones who allow, sometimes we are the ones who allow the compromises within the sector.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, and it's sometimes due to economic factors, sometimes due to other quacks in the industry that makes us look like we don't want to be professional enough. So I don't know if you have such challenges in Mauritius.
Absolutely.
You know, so you're being challenged because somebody is offering less for less.
Yeah.
So
finally, last question there. There's a question from David. He's saying about the PMP, why PMP is important. And you being a PMP certified, a certified project manager, many of us are watching right now. You talked about it earlier about being a certified project manager, but your last wisdom as why we have to have a certification to really go in depth and know project management at core, to really deliver, like you said, project with magnitude. So to all the young people and the senior practitioners, why do we really need to really think about maybe looking into PMI as well?
Well, you need to get certified because you will have a broader view in managing your projects. You know, managing projects for some people is managing a bungalow or managing something, you know. But if you're able to, you'll be able to cut across industries. If you have your certification, you'll be able to manage larger projects. If you go through the certification process, and you'll be able to specialize in some areas of project management if you go through the certification process.
And I take it there's a module just on quality as well, which you really need to grasp. There's a module just on quality as well, which you need to know inside out, right?
That's right. There's a module on quality. Quality is a knowledge area with PMBOK. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. There's Camp 2021 says, Mrs. Adedoyin, you're a star. Thank you very much indeed. Christopher says, thank you for this refresher from Arup, Mauritius. Thank you, Christopher. And we're just going to close the session now. Thank you very much for the awesome presentation. And we need a second session, Dubiraj is saying. So Dubiraj, yes, we will give a second session, no problem. So final word of wisdom from you as we conclude our presentation at 2 hours and 15 minutes. Like I said, I'm humble, honored, and privileged on behalf of all the participants today to host you from Nigeria. It's your first ever webinar, and I'm sure we will come back to you. And also to mention, today's my 49th webinar, and we reached 7,000 participants after a year. So I can't thank you for this historic milestone. Your advice to anybody when it comes to quality, because I mentioned your project is as good as your last project, you know? So the cost can go up and down, but people will always remember that it was a quality project. What's your word of wisdom? Maybe a word from a leader you knew, someone has taught you. What's the best advice you've been given to all of us, 165 of us watching us today?
Okay, well, quality is important in project management, and it's about meeting requirements. See, one of the quickest way to satisfy your client is to meet those requirements. So if you want to keep your client, you got to meet the requirement, but you must ensure that your clients understand the requirements so that they will be glad to have had you meet them.
Okay. And what's the best word of advice you've got from your mentors, seniors? What's the best word of advice you've got when it comes to project management now? Not quality management, but project management. What's the best word of advice you received?
Well, I remember I have a mentor, and he always told me that you can manage anything. You can cut across industries, you know, because I major in the construction industry. I manage construction projects. I do a lot of trainings. In fact, I have an online course coming up.
which we will share, of course, at the back of the email. We will share the course. But what's the best advice you have?
You can cut across industries. You can manage a service. You can manage anything. You can manage in the oil and gas. You can manage in the IT industry. You can manage anywhere. Just put your mind to it and understand the industry, and you'll be able to deliver it, provided you understand your project management well enough.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Can we have a big round of applause for Adedoyin Obikanye from Nigeria? If you can put your hands up, please, for Adedoyin.
Thank you. Okay, could you kindly allow me to share the...
Yes, the course, yeah. Yeah, please, if you can share that. Yeah, no problem.
All right, thank you. There's an invitation that I'm making to everyone. And it's an online project management course. It's project management for construction project management. It's an online course. It is.
I like the flyer. It's a very nice flyer.
Thank you. It's real time. I mean, it's online but not real time. So you'll have access to the course for 8 weeks, project managers for construction project managers.
Yeah.
And there's a link that Anil will send to you. And so if you're interested, you can just fill up the link and subscribe to it. We'll be offering a 40% discount to anybody who registers on it on this from this program, from this webinar. The original cost is about $197, but we'll give you a 40% discount if you're interested.
Wow,
and so we'll send you information on it, and as soon as you get it, please fill up subscribe to it if you wish, and we'll meet in class. It starts on the 12th of April.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. And I'm just gonna stop sharing. All right, thank you very much indeed. Again, sorry, can we have a big round of applause for Adedoyin and give her a nice out. Thank you very much indeed. Adedoyin, I can't thank you enough for all your knowledge and wisdom today, and I'm hoping you'll inspire many people. So everyone, have a great evening wherever you are, and lots of love from Mauritius and all the part to Nigeria. So thank you everyone. Keep safe, take care, and we'll catch up with Adedoyin very much soon. Take care. All right, bye everyone. Bye.